Hey, welcome back to, we stopped keeping track of weeks a long time ago. We've been at this for a while, but Bama Brigade Tennessee Hate Week edition. That's exciting.
It is.
I hate Tennessee. I should have got the clip. I really should have. Now that I'm thinking about it, we're like 2 seconds left.
I wish we had.
You may notice a distinct lack of one Joseph Will. He's, going through a busy patch, so we figured this is a big game, so we had to come on here and talk with or without Joe.
Yep.
But before we can look forward to next week of college football, I think we should take a look back at last week. We haven't had a show in like 2 weeks now. So, namely, I want to talk about obviously Alabama and Texas A&M, right? Because that's the only important game in the world. No one cares about any other team but Alabama.
Right, definitely.
So, just off the dome, what are your opinions on Jalen Milroe and his performance?
I think he's a lot better than he's looking. Like, I don't know what his deal is. Like, I mean, he's shown that he can be good. He did great. Well, I'm about to say he did great. He did good against Arkansas. We won, offense had over 300 yards, total yards against Arkansas. I think he can be a lot better than he showed. I think he was just nervous or something. I think even, Nick Saban alluded to it.
Yeah.
He got nervous, and couldn't hit his open receivers. Not that there's times when our receivers don't get open. We know this. We saw it against Texas. And the offensive line is sometimes not very good. But, he struggled holding on. The only thing he did majorly wrong, was not hold on to the football.
Right.
I mean, you take that aside, take that away.
Yeah. That deep throw was god-awful, too, I will say. Like, it's just – I don't know if you heard the rumor, and again, I don't know if it was a rumor, if it ever got proven true or false or whatever. I saw someone say after the game that, like, actually he didn't take a lot of the snaps with the ones in practice. And, like, he said himself he wasn't sure if he was going to start until Saturday, which if you're not getting all the reps with the ones and then thrown out there, I can see how that would kind of confuse everything. But also, on the other hand, I could totally see that just coming out as kind of like a, hey, guys, go easy on him, like, kind of PR piece almost.
I do have one question though, is like, and I mean, this has been a question for Bill O'Brien and for every offensive coordinator we've ever had for the last 10 years. Why do we abandon the run when it's working? Like, Jahmyr Gibbs was killing their defense, but then we would pull him off the field for 5 and 6 plays at a time, and then he'd come back out there, start killing the defense, and then we'd do it again, and we'd run a toss sweep or whatever, and start and go backwards and get ourselves in second and third and long. Why do we start running the ball?
I think it's almost too predictable, right? Especially with Jalen Milroe in there, who'd shown that he had troubles throwing the ball. It kind of annoyed me that every first down run was like a handoff off the middle. And yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is really good, but when you're blitzing 10 dudes every first down because you know exactly what play it's going to be, he got stuffed, and it's basically a waste of a down, especially with the backup quarterback. You can't waste downs like that. And I think that was the biggest thing that annoyed me about Bill O'Brien. That and the refusal for some reason. He does this all season with Bryce too. I did it last season with Bryce as well, and it cost them, is the refusal to go to short routes when the long developing plays aren't there. And I just don't understand how after a year and a half, you still don't have any like quick slants in your playbook or something like that. But every single play seemed to be like a 20-plus yard route. And yeah, it works when you're Bryce Young and you can move around and stuff. But like Jalen Milroe, he's a redshirt freshman getting thrown into his first game starting. I don't think that.
Look, the offensive things are so different. I mean, like, it's so weird. Like, it sounds stupid to say that the offensive line is affected by the quarterback being different, but it is.
No, it is.
Like, it's drastically affected because the offensive line was struggling at times. Nothing was the same. And, like, thankfully, Jalen Milroe is a very, he's got some Lamar Jackson in him with wheels, and he's going to take off. Thank God for that. Probably won his 2 straight games. But, I mean, like, I totally agree. I don't understand why Bill O'Brien, I think he's better than people think he is, but he's not like your Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian. Why do we always abandon what works? Like, it seems to be a tradition to abandon what's working.
Yeah, it's kind of like he outsmarts himself, right? He goes, oh, I ran it 3 times in a row and got 10 yards every play. I'm going to pass it this time because they're going to be expecting the run. It's like Well, for example, I watched I take a shot. It's 5 minutes in. I'm referencing Minnesota, but I watched the Vikings game this week against the Bears, and we ran it like 5 times in a row because every run play was getting 8 yards. And then our coach was basically like, okay, until you stop it, we're just going to keep doing it. Bill O'Brien should exactly do that. I do think too, you said the offensive line, like with different quarterbacks being like different levels of effective. One, I think, is not having the protections down as well as someone like Bryce Young, who has complete command of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think two as well, when you have a quarterback that's more hesitant to throw like that, you're going to just look worse overall. And three, it's the Russell Wilson effect, right? Where quarterbacks that like to roll out and like to scramble get pressured and get hit a lot more than quarterbacks that stay in the pocket because they're opening themselves up trying to extend the play.
I have one take. I think this is either like totally correct or totally wrong. There is no in between on this. I think Bryce Young is a very good at reading. I mean, well, he is good at reading defenses. That's a given. I think he's also good at audibling. I think he's good at when he gets up there reading the defense, seeing something and audibling, and that's part of why the play ends up being so good. Jalen Milroe is in a completely different situation. He's younger. He's never started. He's technically a freshman.
Yeah.
Not somebody that can audible. I don't know if Bryce Young, I feel like he does a lot of audibling that we don't know about in the huddle.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just inexperience for, Milroe that would get better with time. I don't think it's something to panic about. I mean, look how bad, Mac Jones threw 2 pick sixes against Auburn.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a big, I don't know if it's fair to liken it to the situation, but that's also the vibes I got from this game was a Mac Jones-esque, had flashes in their first career start, but also made some, critical mistakes. But with a full off season of being the guy.
Full off season, probably with a new offensive coordinator. Would love for that to be Garrett Riley. That would be absolutely huge to get Garrett Riley. Look at the job he's doing this year with TCU's offense.
Right.
Would love to get, so I think, new offensive coordinator will help him, will help Jalen Milroe next year because obviously Bryce Young's not coming back. I mean,
yeah, no, he'd be crazy too. He could have sat out the whole year and still been a top 3 pick, a la, Trey Lance. I also think people were calling for Ty Simpson to step in next week if Bryce can't make it, and that's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, and there may be situations for it, but overall, you've got to trust your backup. You've got to be able to trust your backup.
Right, exactly. I don't think that one shaky performance after not having to play at all is grounds for benching the guy who's been the clear number 2 all year. Right, imagine Tom Brady has a bad game and everyone's like, "Oh, we got to put in Kyle Trask," who I don't even know if he's still in the Bucs, to be honest. I'm sure he probably is, but so I mean, do you have any other thoughts? I think people, in my opinion, I guess closing thoughts about the A&M game. I'll go real quick. Is that
I think
go
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say we still beat a team a good team, right? Texas A&M. Like last year, is better than their record shows. They just don't show up some games, but overall talent, they're better than their record shows.
Well, I agree.
Yeah, and you see the Evan Stewarts out there making incredible plays. What a pass breakup by Terry and Arnold on the last play of the game too against Evan Stewart. After getting mossed earlier in the drive, might I add, that was insane catch. But we beat a team, that's a lot better than their record shows.
Yep.
With a backup quarterback who turned it over 3 times. We had another turnover. We had 4 total turnovers.
I thought he turned it over 4 times.
He turned it over 3. Rodell Williams had 1. Or Jace McClellan had 1.
Sorry. That's right. But I think we take the turnovers away and take Will Riker somehow out of nowhere having a bad game. Take all we gave them every single point they had. We gave them everything they had. It should have been a blowout, but we were handing them the game on a silver platter. It seemed like, I don't know what it was. Every time we turned the ball over, we couldn't stop them on defense. Any other time the defense was lights out. Defense played very well.
Well, you have to look at it from like a defensive perspective. You normally get breaks on the offensive drive, and then the offense like fumbling first play. You got to go back out there. Then you kind of gas. Like
that's what scares me about Tennessee. Like I just don't know. Can we win a shootout with them? Yes, because they don't have a defense. But like the offense has got to quit. Like we cannot have 3 and outs and quit not turn the ball over. The defense is not. I mean, they get tired at some point. I mean, if they get up to 90 offensive snaps, that's bad for us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about Tennessee in a bit. But yeah, I guess I did forget the 2 missed kicks as well from Will Reichard. And Jalen Milroe had 3 touchdown passes, but only 100 yards, 111 yards passing. So to be able to go in there like against a good Texas A&M team and only throw for 100 yards, turn the ball over 4 times, have 2 missed kicks, and still come out with a win, like that shows resilience. I'm kind of.
It does, and but like look at Jahmyr Gibbs' yard. Jahmyr Gibbs played one of his second best game of the year, or second game in a row, over 100 yards. I felt like we should have fed Jahmyr Gibbs way more than we did, or at least I'm all for like some short out routes or whatever to Jahmyr Gibbs. He's as good as a receiver as he is at running back. So I think we got to get Jahmyr Gibbs involved more than we did. I don't feel like he got enough involvement.
Yeah, he had 21 carries and 3 catches, but Jalen Milroe as well had almost more carries than he had passing attempts. And like I said, I think it's just he has happy feet right now, right? His immediate responses take off running. Instead of trying to throw guys open, instead of trying to fit it into tight windows, if people weren't wide open, he would just immediately take off.
Yep. But we don't really want him throwing in tight windows right now.
Yes, that's true. But I'm just saying, like, for his development as a quarterback in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
So, looking forward to this week. That was last week. We have a couple games we want to talk about. We should just stay on the Alabama train. We're Alabama show. Let's talk about Alabama. Number 3 Alabama now. They were number 1 against A&M, dropped 2 spots against number 6 Tennessee. So, you were kind of giving me your thoughts earlier. I want to just go ahead and give me your full thoughts.
Okay, well, I think that we'll make our picks later, but I think when you look at this game, I think this is like, to me, I told someone last night, and hear me out on this one before you say it's a bad take. This game to me is a more difficult game than the 2019 LSU game, simply because it's on the road against a really good offense. Is this offense 2019 LSU good? No, there's not going to be an offense that good, probably ever. But it's on the road. It's at a very hostile environment, a team that is absolutely going to pull out every stop they can to beat us. I think the defense can get it done. My problem is for the defense is the fact, can the offense keep the defense off the field and keep Hendon Hooker from absolutely wearing the defense down and just, your typical Alabama loss? You just get worn down. I just don't know if Bryce Young is not back. Even if Bryce Young is back, I think that a shootout benefits them more than it does us. And I feel like at this point, we're going to get into a shootout with them just simply because I don't trust the offense to be consistent enough. That's my whole problem. I don't trust the offense to be consistent enough on the road. We've not seen them be consistent in a true road environment. Like Arkansas, do you really consider Arkansas a true road environment? You look at Texas.
They had hype going into the game, though.
They did.
Arkansas did.
But you look at and I know I beat this train a lot, but it's different now because you look at the last three of the last road games, at Texas A&M and at Auburn, the offense struggled, the offensive line struggled, and then at Texas this year we know how bad that was. If we see that Alabama, we're not winning. Do you think that we improve from that game on the road in another true road game? Or
the only thing, so I kind of I don't think it's a good take, but I kind of see some parallels from the whole 2019 LSU game. We have a hobbled quarterback going into the game against a good, offense. The thing, I think the major difference that from 2019 LSU is 2019 LSU also had a very good defense, or especially compared to Tennessee. Tennessee quite literally has the worst defense. I don't know if it's just the worst Power 5 defense, I think it's one of the overall worst defenses in general we've played all year. They are basically like a sieve on defense at this point. And yeah, they could pull out all the stops. Yeah, maybe they maybe they were just hot dogging all year and they're saving it for Alabama. But I just don't think Tennessee's defense is going to be able to stop Alabama enough to catch up with their offense. Because as good as Hendon Hooker is, as good as Tennessee's offense is, Alabama's going to get a few stops, right? With as bad as Tennessee's defense has been, and again, this could be a very funny quote in about 4 days from me saying this, but I don't know if Tennessee will get a couple stops, right, with how they've historically been this year.
I think they'll get. I agree and I disagree. I think I know I just have a sinking feeling we're gonna come out. If we get the ball, I think if we get the ball first, we're probably going to come out and wind up having a punt on our first drive, just because it's just the nerves, the everything. I think they will get a couple of stuff. I don't think they get enough to get a decent lead on us. I don't think they. I don't think they do, but I don't think that. I don't know if we get stops. I trust the defense, but the problem is I feel like when they get stops, we're not going to get stops. I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, if they're going to, I'm okay with them getting stops. If we drive the ball and stalls out, so be it. Right. We cannot have 3 and outs from the 20-yard line, from the 25-yard line and punting right back to them. We can't have 3 and outs. If we don't have 3 and outs and if we take at least time off the clock and play consistent enough to get the defense rested, I think we win.
Yeah, if Alabama comes back to the Alabama of old where they grind it out and run.
Well, it's not as much that. It's just don't start losing yards, getting yourself behind the sticks, and punting the ball back to them as soon as you get it. You have to let the defense rest. And I just don't know if I trust the offense to do that enough. Yes, Tennessee's defense is bad, but tell me the last time there was a matchup of 2 offensive heavyweights like this is that it actually went. You typically don't see offensive heavyweight matchups score as high as you think they would.
Right. It's always and harkening back to LSU again, was it 2018 LSU where we played in Baton Rouge, and it was a top 5 matchup between the 2 teams, and then LSU scored 0 points and Alabama scored 20 or something. It was 20-0. Yeah, so
Hendon Hooker is to me, my ultimate thing is, you look back on the last, not counting Georgia and A&M not counting last year, 2019, so many of Alabama's losses come against a Heisman quarterback. When is the last time Alabama beat a Heisman winning quarterback other than Kyler Murray?
Well, I would expand that to say, when is the last time anyone's beat a Heisman winning quarterback, right? Heisman winning quarterbacks just by definition don't lose a lot of games. That's why they won the Heisman. That being said, I don't think Hendon Hooker is a Heisman quarterback. I think that this game will crush his hopes of winning the Heisman, in my opinion. I think he hasn't. I mean, who have the Vols played this year? Florida.
For the record, I don't think C.J. Stroud is either.
C.J. Stroud might win it just because I don't think Bryce Young wins it again, and
C.J. Stroud's playing some weak defenses. I mean,
yeah, but
I think Ohio State's very good. Don't get me wrong. I think Ohio State is very good.
Tennessee struggled with Pittsburgh, and they grinded out a win against Florida. And those are then who else did they play? They played Ball State, Akron, LSU, who's been massively disappointing this year. They're 4-2, but they have not looked good.
Yeah. I don't know. This is just going to be one of those games. I think what scares me the most is the crowd. Ultimately, it's on the road in a very hostile environment. If this game was at home, I'm not worried about it, because I think ultimately home games, we just seem to have a way, unless it's just some miraculously crazy team. And what we would have, could have, should have been LSU 2019. We can would have, could have, should that one all day. We just seem to have a way to always find a way at home. I don't know what it is, but we seem to always find a way at home. But it's on the road, and I think that's something that scares me. with an inconsistent offense. A great offense when they're clicking, but they're also very inconsistent.
Yeah. I will say the biggest thing I think that gives me pretty good amount of confidence coming into this week is Anthony Richardson, Florida's quarterback, threw for 450 yards against this Tennessee defense. Anthony Richardson was getting a lot of hype, but it's definitely not because of his throwing prowess, at least not this year. I mean, he has 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and is the 61st ranked quarterback according to QBR. So he's completing less than 50% of his passes in conference, and like of his 662 yards in conference, 450 of them came against Tennessee. Tennessee's defense is just not going to be able to hang, in my opinion. But that leads me to what I wanted to say is, in my opinion, the two people that have the most to prove. Number one, Bill O'Brien. You got to develop an effective game plan. Even if Bryce Young isn't out, you should, as an offensive coordinator, be able to exploit this major weakness that Tennessee has, right? You should be able to draw stuff up to make it, you should be able to score points, especially with how much talent you have. And it'll scare me, like you said, if drives stall out, if they kind of struggle to move the ball, because they shouldn't, right? There's no world in which they should. Number two, I think the wide receiver group as a whole, because all year it's just like, welcome to, or wait till Tyler Harrell comes back, wait till Aaron Anderson comes back. We'll have the speed, and then we'll be able to open it up more. But even last week, it's not just because the wide receivers weren't getting open, but they were still struggling to get open, as they have been all year. If you can't get open against Tennessee, I think then it's time to have a serious talk about the wide receiver room maybe not being as good as it was hyped up to be.
I agree.
What do you think? Who do you think has the most to prove coming into this week?
I'm gonna go on a different. I'm just not because I disagree. I agree with what you said, but I'm gonna also throw something different. I'm gonna say Pete Golding, because everybody says Pete Golding is improved. Everybody said that he is, everybody's like, yeah, I was wrong about Pete, yada yada. This is the week he can ultimately prove that 100%. I don't think if we give up 45 points, it means anything. I don't think that means anything negative towards Pete at all, because this is a very good offensive team. But I think this is a week, if Pete Golding can come in and call a great game, that he proves that he is as good as your Kirby Smarts, as a defensive coordinator.
I got you.
So I thought Pete Golding, but I also agree with what you said about, Bill O'Brien. Like, this is the week that Bill O'Brien essentially can kind of silence the haters for a while. Even though it's not a good defense. It's still on the road, still a tough environment.
Yeah, still the number 6 team in the country.
Go in there, win a shootout, go in there, dominate, whatever. I think can prove some people wrong.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it. Is it a night game? When is the game?
3:30.
3:30. Oh, interesting. That's fine. I kind of don't like night games because I get nervous waiting all day, especially if they're good.
I agree. It's different when you eat on the quad and tailgate and drink and you don't even know what's going on. But when it's I agree. I don't like night games unless it's in Bryant-Denny.
Yeah, that's true. So shifting gears a little bit from Alabama, the next game I want to get your prediction for / talk about a little bit is number 19 Kansas at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's kind of been on the downslide since we had PG on the show. He was talking about Oklahoma maybe making a run. I think they've lost 3 straight since then. Unfortunate. I'm not saying it's our fault, but it might be our fault. What do you think? What do you think about Kansas coming off their first loss of the season?
I don't know. That's not even they could have won that game too. But anyway, I think Oklahoma's going to get back on track this week. I think with Jalen Daniels, is it?
Jaden Daniels.
Daniels.
Jaden Daniels is
yes,
LSU's quarterback.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking of? I don't know. I'm losing my mind.
I think they're brothers, and they're anyway.
Because it was Dylan Gabriel, and he got hurt.
Kansas, both teams without their starting quarterback in this one. I think Oklahoma's going to get back on track. I think Kansas is kind of finally coming back down to earth a little bit. hell of a lot better than they used to be. But I think they're going to come back down to earth. I think I'm going Oklahoma to cover in this one.
See, it's just really hard for me to say Oklahoma's going to do anything because with their performance against Texas last week, it's Davis Beville is their quarterback now after Dylan Gabriel got hurt. They put up 0 points against Texas. Texas won the Red River Showdown. Sorry, we can't call it the Red River Shootout anymore, even though that's a cooler name. The Red River Showdown, 49-0. Quinn Ewers looked great. Oklahoma Sooners defense was good for 3 weeks, and then now the discourse changed on Brett Venables very quickly. I will say it went from he's done such a great job. I saw a bunch of Oklahoma players tweeting, I wish we had him here when I was there. We would have been so good. And now they're 3-3, and it's kind of like, it's not as sweet on the other side. Everyone's changing to, was Brett Venables really the best choice? Yada, yada, yada. Oklahoma had a combined 39 passing yards last week, just looking at the stats. They had 5 different players attempt passes. Their punter, I think, had the highest quarterback rating.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think he was 1 for 1 for 3 yards.
Yeah, they ran a fake punt.
Yeah, Michael Turk was 1 for 1 for 3 yards, and I think he had the highest quarterback rating. I can't, in good conscience, after that performance, go anything with the Sooners. So I'm going to say Kansas all the way. Kansas covers. I'm not sure what the spread is actually on the game, but let me look real quick. It is Kansas is favored by. Oh wait, Oklahoma's favored by 9. Hold on now. I'm taking Kansas even harder. I'm just picking I'm taking Kansas money line. Yeah,
I'm gonna go change mine to Oklahoma money. Yeah, I did not realize it was that. I'm gonna go Oklahoma money line.
Oklahoma, according to the experts, the winning team model predicts Oklahoma will win with 64.2% of the confidence. This is like one of those big Vegas knows something I don't, because I feel like this should be a slam dunk for Kansas. I don't know. Maybe they're expecting a bounce back, but I'm expecting Oklahoma to lose their fourth.
I'm going to go Oklahoma money line.
All right. And I'm picking Kansas money line. So look at that. That was a weird thing that just came out of my mouth. Next game we have number 10 Penn State versus number 5 Michigan at number 5 Michigan. So let me just say, I am, as much as I miss him, I'm glad we do not have. Why did that pop up? I'm glad that we do not have one Joseph Will on the show this week, because I don't have to hear crazy theories about how Penn State is going to win. Michigan, I think, is going to beat them pretty handily.
I'm going to go, Joe would be sitting here telling us how good Sean Clifford really is and, all of that good stuff. Penn State did go on the road to beat Auburn, but Auburn is very, 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 very bad. And I think Michigan is actually better than last year, possibly.
Yeah.
I like Michigan's. I'm going to go Michigan to cover.
Blake Corum right now, Michigan's running back, is actually averaging better stats through this point of the season than I think all of the last Heisman running backs, the last 3. I'm pretty sure he has them beaten yards and touchdowns at this point in the season. Wow. He has been great. Michigan as a whole, finally found a quarterback that's decent. Penn State has put up some convincing performances, and then some not so convincing performances. Only beat Northwestern 7-17. Only beat Purdue 35-31. I think Michigan all the way. Let me see what the spread is real quick. I feel like I should have had all this pulled up, but spread on the game. Michigan Wolverines are, if it wants to show me, Michigan's favored by 7. Michigan -7. So can I get your prediction on the game?
Yeah, I think Michigan covers. I think Michigan covers that. I just don't think Penn State can hang with. I don't think Penn State has the offense. Michigan's defense is really good. And overall, Michigan is actually definitely the second best team in the Big Ten. I think they're going to prove that this week. I think Michigan covers.
Shoot, I think it's I think you might have competition later for the best team in the Big Ten. I could see Jim Harbaugh going back to back. Yeah,
John Harbaugh. Do we know? I think Jim Harbaugh is definitely the better Harbaugh for some reason. Better.
I mean, one of them won a Super Bowl, and it wasn't Jim Harbaugh. So.
I mean, true, but I mean, I just don't. Well, we'll have the Lamar Jackson debate on another show, but anyway, he's looking good this year. So maybe this is John Harbaugh's year.
He was this close to being the Vikings' next head coach.
Who was?
Jim Harbaugh.
Really?
Yeah. You don't remember that? We flew him out for an interview, and it was basically everything was pointing to him being the next guy, and then he apparently didn't prepare for the interview because he thought it was a formality, and all the executives were kind of disappointed in his lack of prepreration. We went with Kevin O'Connell instead, which I'm happy because I never really bought into the Jim Harbaugh hype. But anyway, that being said, I think Michigan covers as well. You and I are on the same page as well. Only 7 points. That's a touchdown. I think that after Penn State, won pretty heavily against Auburn. I think they're going to come back down to earth a little bit. And Penn State's one of those teams where they're a good team. They're not a top 10 team, in my opinion. So next up, we have number 8 Oklahoma State at number 13 TCU.
I think speaking of coming down to earth, I think TCU is going to come down to earth this week. Sonny Dykes has done a great job. Did not like that hire at all, but it's been actually a great hire for them. I think you also got to credit to Garrett Riley, his offensive play calling, but it's going to come back to they're really going to fall down to earth this week. Mike Gundy, they're for real this year. The Fighting Gundys are for real this year. I think they will. What's the spread in that one?
Let me look real quick. Yeah, I know that both teams are 5-0. The TCU is favored by 3.5, I believe.
I'm going to go Oklahoma State money line on that one.
You and I think, are on the same wavelength tonight. I'm also going to say Oklahoma State money line. I think that TCU, they put up a great performance against Oklahoma, right? And everyone was like, "Wow, they're for real." Did that just happen? And then Oklahoma got absolutely trounced by Texas the next week, and everyone came to realize that maybe it was Oklahoma who was overrated the whole time, not TCU being underrated.
Yes.
I mean, they beat Kansas by 7. Kansas was pretty good going into the week, undefeated team, so that's a good win. But I think that Oklahoma State is just the better team. I think that TCU is another one they're borderline top 10 right now, but I don't think that stays after this week. I think Oklahoma State is probably the best Big 12 team, and I think they're going to go out there and beat TCU.
I agree.
Next up, we have number 16 Mississippi State at number 22 Kentucky. What are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I keep waiting for Mississippi State to Mississippi State one, and they keep not doing it. I did not expect Mississippi State to actually be decent, and they keep continuing to prove me wrong. They keep continuing to win. I don't know if Will Levis back?
I don't know. Let me look and see what I can find real quick, because I knew he was hurt. He is Kentucky football quarterback set to play against Mississippi State. So it looks like
Kentucky. I'm going to go Kentucky. I'm going to go Kentucky money line.
Let me see real quick before I make my choice. But yeah, I think that Mississippi State's been good this year. I think that Mississippi State's favored by 4.5. I think that
Vegas always seems to know something, but I don't know. I think Kentucky wins.
Yeah, I'll pick Kentucky to cover. I'm not sure if they win. I want to say they're going to win, but also Mississippi State is one of those teams, like you said, it's just they're going to Mississippi State at some point. They're going to come back down to earth. They're going to lose a game in spectacular fashion. And if it's not this week, it's going to be the week after, because I just saw that we we play them in 2 weeks. So, but I like to believe that with Will Levis back, Kentucky's a better team than their record would indicate. I mean, they lost 2 games, and they lost like embarrassingly to South Carolina, but that was without their quarterback. So I think with Kentucky or with Will Levis back, picking Kentucky to cover. I don't feel confident enough to pick them outright because every time I think Kentucky's going to be good, they disappoint me. So, next up we have number 7 USC, Southern California, not Southern Carolina. At number 20 Utah, which I think should be a pretty interesting game. What about you?
And like USC hasn't let off yet, and I think USC, Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley, they've been very consistent. Jordan Addison, and I think he may have made the right decision after all. I'm going to USC. I think USC is going to ride this win streak on through Saturday. I think they cover. I think Utah's a tough place to play. Kyle Whittingham is always going to have his teams ready.
Yeah,
but
Utah's favored by 3.5. By the way,
who is
Utah?
Utah's favored.
3.5. It's in Utah.
I'm going to go USC money line.
Okay. Yeah, I think that USC has had a couple close games. I mean, it was really only one. But I think that USC is a pretty dang good team. I know people have been up and down on them, like, oh, they don't really play anyone. Oh, they play in the Pac-12. This will be the first real test that they have, right? And that being said, I believe in Caleb Williams. I believe in Lincoln Riley. I'm picking USC money line as well. The Utes as well are another team that just kind of, anytime they pick up steam this year, they come crashing back down, right? They lost week 1 to Florida, which is kind of a week 1 games. I don't think you can weigh that much into. They're kind of weird because you don't really know what to expect from your opponent. And then they built up steam. They dropped 73 the week after. Built up a bunch of steam, and then they played Dorian Thompson-Robinson and UCLA and got crushed. Another Joe take that I want to talk about actually is he said that Dorian Thompson-Robinson is the next Lamar Jackson. How do you feel about that from UCLA?
I mean, if you can throw that comparison to so many, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with it, but at the same time, you can say that about Hendon Hooker. You can say it about Caleb Williams. You can say it about C.J. Stroud. You can say it about Bryce Young. There's so many quarterbacks you can say that about. So, I mean, I think that's kind of a vanilla comparison there. I mean, that's not saying anything to me.
I think it's also kind of a lazy comparison as well, considering last week he had 11 carries for 8 yards. And also, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is, I think, a 5th-year senior. So you expect a 5th-year senior to look good in your offense, right? They've had so much time to pick up the offense. I think that if he was truly the next, great running quarterback like that, I think he would have been in the draft as a junior. Not to say that you can't be a senior or a 5th-year senior and be good. Some people are late bloomers, but UCLA finally was good because this is his 5th year in the system running the team. So I would hope they look more coherent than a lot of teams.
I agree.
But yeah, so USC, Utah, taking USC all the way money line.
Me too.
Next up, we have number 15, North Carolina State at number 18, Syracuse, which is kind of a shock to me because I did not know that Syracuse was actually ranked high.
Yeah, Syracuse has had a great season, but I mean, I think NC State is the 2nd or 3rd best team in the very, very weak ACC, and I think they'll win on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Let me find the odds real quick for you. The North Carolina State Wolfpack is actually a 3.5-point underdog against Syracuse. I think it's just basically a pick 'em because it's a 3-point boost for a home team normally.
So yeah. I'm gonna go NC State money line.
Yeah, I think I also want to pick NC State money line. You and I have been on the same wavelength, I think, all night. I think that Syracuse has literally not played anyone Louisville,
Yes.
they played and dominated, but then they won by 3 against Purdue and 1 by 2 against Virginia. I think that NC State, I mean, they're 5-1, but that's also because they played Clemson already. I think NC State has the more impressive wins. I mean, they beat Texas Tech, they beat Florida State. They also had some close ones, yeah, but I think NC State is probably the better team in my opinion. I'm going to pick them money line.
I agree.
Next up, we have Iowa State at number 22, Texas. Texas has been up and down. They were unranked, played us and lost barely, became ranked. Quinn Ewers got hurt and they lost a couple of games, dropped out of the rankings. And now they clawed their way back up to number 22, and they just came off a very impressive showing against Oklahoma, winning 49-0 in the Red River Showdown. So who do you have?
I think Quinn Ewers is the real deal. I think don't want to overlook it just yet and think he's going to be some, the next great thing in college football. But I think he's pretty good, and that's Iowa State, not Iowa.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't type it in.
Definitely would take Texas over Iowa, but I think Texas. It's at Texas. Quinn Ewers has been really good. I think Matt Campbell is an overrated coach. I will say that. I think he's good. I don't think he's as good as people try to say he is. I think Texas wins that one handily. I think Texas covers.
Texas covers. It is a 16.5 point spread for Texas.
I like it.
I agree. It's a crazy spread. And I'm just going to hop back on the agree with Clack train again. I'm looking at Iowa State this year, and they scored 10 points against Iowa, right? Iowa's a good defense. They scored 11 points against Kansas. They scored 9 points against Kansas State. I just don't think their offense is going to be able to put up anywhere near enough to, we've seen, 1.5, 2.5 games of Quinn Ewers now, but in those games he's played, he's looked great. I just do not think a team that's putting up 9 against Kansas State, 11 against Kansas, 10 against Iowa is going to be able to hang with Texas at all. I think Texas is just going to pick them apart pretty handily. And I agree, too, with Quinn Ewers when you're talking about him. I think it might be a little early, right? I'm a big sample size guy. I wasn't ready to admit that Ezekiel Elliott was a good running back until year 3 in the NFL. But I think he's shown he has everything you look for in a quarterback, and I would not be surprised if he was like a top guy when it's all said and done next year in the draft. And there's a big question mark when he transferred out of Ohio State, right? Because it was like, oh, is he making the right decision? Is him taking a year off a good idea? And it seems like the answer is yes, indeed. So yeah, I'm also picking Texas to cover the massive 16.5 point spread because I believe in Quinn Ewers. I believe in the mullet. And, I believe in Steve Sarkisian.
I agree.
Next up, we have number 4 Clemson at Florida State.
Clemson has that. Clemson is the new Auburn, and the fact that they just find the stupidest, craziest ways to win. And you look at their schedule, they should not be undefeated. There is no reason Clemson should be undefeated, but they seem to just be. The ACC always has that one team. It used to be Florida State, and it was Notre Dame. Well, Notre Dame, if you want to. First it was Florida State for umpteen years, just could not lose. They beat Notre Dame on I don't remember what it was. They beat Notre Dame on some penalty a few years ago, and they were undefeated that I'd never heard of. And then finally lost on a blocked field goal. Anyway, Clemson is that team that just finds the craziest ways to win, and then I don't think it's going to stop. Florida State is a lot better than they were, but they're also still have Mike Norvell, and I don't trust Mike Norvell in any type of big game. They got away with somehow they beat LSU in a wild, crazy game. I don't think they beat Clemson. Clemson is finally playing like a top 5 team. DJ, whatever how you say his last name.
Ukulele, yeah, like you like to say.
DJ Ukulele. I'm not even going to try to say it.
Uyunglele.
that DJ, what you just said, he's finally playing like a mini Heisman contender, like everybody thought he was. I think Clemson, they're definitely favored, and I think they definitely cover.
Clemson is favored by 3.5, so it's actually not a huge ask to cover. It's basically 50-50. And I think that I just do not trust ACC teams at all. And I hereby am leading the campaign to abolish the ACC from the top 10 rankings because they just do not play anyone all year. Their teams are not good. And, you can quote me on this when Clemson eventually wins the national championship because I said this, but Clemson is not a top 5 team. They have a top 5 record because they have played they're the Wilt Chamberlain of college football. They're playing against milkmen.
I agree. I totally agree.
Clemson played 2 ranked teams this year, but they're ranked ACC teams, which are ranked because they play other ACC teams. I totally agree. And they went to overtime against Wake Forest. Wake Forest probably should have won. And I think that Clemson is they're due for a slap in the face, and I think it comes in the form of a Florida State upset. I think, odds be danged. Results, whatever, throw it all out the window. Dalvin Cook is going to be in Miami this week. So, he might pop by the Florida State game on Saturday. And I think I think Florida State wins. I'm picking Florida State money line.
All right.
And last but not least, we have Minnesota at number 24, Illinois.
I'm not a fan of the row the boat. I'm not a PJ Fleck fan. I think I put PJ Fleck in the category of Mario Cristobal in terms of coaches that everybody thinks are so good that will be coaches that absolutely doom a powerhouse team one of these days. Hopefully not Alabama. I don't. With that being said, I don't trust Illinois. I think Brett Bielema is gonna come down to earth one day too. I want Illinois to win this game because I like Brett Bielema. But I don't think it's going to happen Saturday. I don't think they're going to get it done Saturday. I think Minnesota sneaks away with a close one and kind of a low-scoring game.
Yeah, so one, shout out Minnesota. Alabama scheduled a home and home with them for, 2032 and 2033? Yes. Interesting. I do like when people complain about not scheduling good teams, but really you have to schedule games 10 years in advance, and it's just a crapshoot who's good by then. Where are the odds? I'm trying to okay, the spread is -6.5 for Minnesota. I think that Illinois covers, but I think that Minnesota wins the game.
I think Minnesota covers. I think I'm taking Minnesota.
I think they win by a touchdown?
Yeah.
I know the one time I picked Minnesota was it was last week against Purdue, but I didn't realize at the time that Mohamed Ibrahim was hurt, their starting running back. And I think that if he plays, they're a lot more likely to win. And also Tanner Morgan had 3 interceptions. I don't think Tanner Morgan has 3 interceptions again.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Illinois, I think, is a little, they're a little overhyped. Number 24, you can't really be overhyped, but I don't think they're a ranked team. I think they're going to lose to Minnesota, and I think Minnesota's going to continue rowing the boat. They hit a little rocky waves there, but yeah, I do think it'll be a close game. I think Illinois covers, Minnesota wins.
Okay.
Fun fact, Illinois was one of the schools I toured when I was choosing what college I wanted to go to. It makes sense because I live in St. Louis, so I'm pretty close. But
interesting. So we have one more game to pick.
Oh, do we?
Yeah. We have the third Saturday in October that we talked about but did not make picks. And we all know who was 3. One of us, not named Clack, had 2 in a row Bama score predictions. So you go first on this one.
What game were we talking about? Alabama?
Bama at Tennessee.
Oh, I just skipped over that because I thought we had already talked about that.
Well, we usually do our picks, and I was like...
You're right. Yeah, so...
I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, number 3, Alabama. Number 6, Tennessee. It's really hard to make a score prediction for me. Either way, I had the same result. I think Alabama wins. I think Alabama covers whatever the spread is. I think Alabama goes out there, makes a statement, shows that Tennessee is overrated. But it's really hard for me to make a score prediction without knowing if Bryce Young is going to play or not. I'm assuming he will, right? I'm operating under the assumption that Bryce Young is playing.
Okay.
But I will say Tennessee scores less points than everyone thinks they're going to. I will say that Tennessee scores less points than Texas A&M last week, interestingly enough. I'll say they score 17 points. Alabama scores 35.
Oh, my. You know, I want in my heart of hearts to believe that that is what happens. But this is the toughest environment we've played in a long time. We've a banged up quarterback against a very good quarterback. I think that there has, in the history of the college football playoff, there's been one, and it was a COVID year. One team go undefeated throughout the season. Nobody goes undefeated. It's just
Right.
like it's unheard of anymore.
I mean, yeah. So are you talking regular season or the whole season?
Regular
That
season.
regular season has been twice then because Georgia went undefeated till the SEC championship last game.
I'm sorry. I meant whole season until the national championship.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So then that was Alabama.
The national champion has had one loss every year in the college football playoff, except the COVID year that
Alabama beat Ohio State.
you can't really, I think, full stands, we very likely have one loss that year.
Yeah, except,
I think
Mac Jones ain't walking through the doors this year.
Yeah, I think, at whether it be, I don't remember who our original schedule got changed. I don't remember where we were at. I think we would have lost one game that year. I don't think it's because Tennessee's a better team. I just think it's because it's going to happen at some point. I think Tennessee pulls it off. I'm going to go in a high scoring game. I think it's going to be 42-38 Tennessee. And let's hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that if we can escape Tennessee with a win, right? If we go out there and win like I think we will, I think that Alabama does have a good shot of going undefeated till the SEC championship.
I agree. I don't think a loss this week is a thing. I don't think, we all know it, and I do it too. I don't think a loss this week is something to panic about and something to lose faith over because simply This is an SEC East team, thank God. I'd much rather lose in the East when it does not affect our chances of getting to Atlanta.
Well, and also, if you got to lose to any team, losing to the number 6 team in the nation is definitely helps your odds the best, right?
I don't like Tennessee, but if you're going to lose a game, putting the hatred aside, it's going to have to be this one. I'd rather lose this game than go into Baton Rouge and lose or somehow lose to Mississippi State.
Right.
And then the West is all, up for grabs. I think the history continues. I don't think there will be very many national champions other than 2019 LSU or 2020 Bama who go undefeated. It just doesn't happen.
So, but yeah, so you said what, 38-42 Tennessee?
I'm going to 38-42.
I said 35-17 Alabama. So we'll see, maybe the doubters, the haters like Clack will prevail for once, or maybe the true stalwart believers in the University of Alabama.
Hey, remember last year when y'all got all over me for picking Georgia in the Natty?
I think that was dumb that people were mad at you for that, but I think that anyone saying you can't predict a team to beat your favorite team is stupid.
I can't go along with that. I agree with you because sometimes you just have to realize you may even be the best team, but you're not going to win them all. And
yeah, well, and you can be a fan of a team and still be objective, right? I know Alabama has a legitimate shot to win every game they play because they're Alabama, but I don't think you're in the wrong for saying we're going to lose one game probably, and this is the most logical game to lose.
Yeah, national champion. I think it is so hard to go through the season and win all your games, and especially this is gonna. I hate to say that. I hate to burst Bama fans' bubbles, but when the playoff expands, you're gonna see teams, even Nick Saban coach teams, and Nick Saban will fume when this happens. But you're going to see teams get a mindset that they can slack off a little bit.
Right.
It's not a good mindset.
You're like, we're still number 8. It's fine. Like,
but they're still going to that mindset's going to come into play because it's you're going to think, oh, we can still get in. We're going, and I just don't think that this team is great, but they're not. This Bama team is great, but they're not 2019 LSU or they're not 2020 Bama great. And I think they're beatable. Like 2020 Bama was not beatable. Like I will say that like it is. 2020 Bama, what we saw, there was nobody touching that team. Same with 2019 LSU.
There's just something around the team. Like they went in, played a whole SEC schedule, and came out unscathed completely. Like,
right. But like I don't. Is this team? Can they win the Natty? Yes. Will they? Remains to be seen. But they're not like some great team like we've seen before, like we've seen, in 2019 to 2020. And I think they're beatable. I think, they've shown that they are beatable. We could have, should have lost two. I mean, we persevered and got it done. And I think, I hope that's what happens Saturday. I know that this team is, if there's a team that can get it done, no matter what, it's this team. But sometimes you just don't get it done. And I don't, something about this game worries me with it being a great offense. When's the last time we beat a really prolific offense? It seems like that's always our kryptonite.
Yeah.
Especially on the road.
I don't know. I'm confident in the team, but yeah, I mean,
I hope you're right.
Like 2020, like you said, was just, there's an air around them where every single game you were just like, okay, they're gonna win. Even coming into the national championship game, I was a little worried after like Ohio State dismantled Clemson, but after the first 6 minutes of the game, I was like, there's no shot we lose this game. Yep. Like it was that. And this year, like you said, it's definitely, they've shown they can bleed. But I will say, I think that every team this year has kind of shown that they can bleed. Ohio State's maybe been the most consistent, but again, it's because Ohio State is one of those teams.
Look at who they played. I mean, Wisconsin just fired their coach.
Right.
Mel Tucker is really kind of come under fire.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Is like Ohio State is one of those teams that they have 2 games a year that test them.
I think somebody somehow somebody's gonna slow them down. I don't know who it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who it's gonna. I think it's gonna happen. But I mean, Ohio State is good. They're very good. I mean, I think they're beatable. I don't know if they play Illinois or not, but I would love to see it be Illinois.
They don't play Illinois, but I think this week is as good as any for the weird Ohio State loss. Right, they're playing Iowa this week, who can't score on, a retirement home. Like they just can't score on anyone. You can put. I know. I'm just saying you can put whoever you want out there. They're not scoring. And that would be the ultimate Iowa and the ultimate Ohio State thing. If Iowa's defense just came out there and they won 9-6 or something.
One more thing. I'm gonna throw a random curveball at you because Joe.
Okay.
I think Joe missed my memo on doing this for us. Who wins the World Series?
Who wins the World Series? Oh, it's so hard to say anyone but the Dodgers. Just statistically, the Dodgers are the best team in baseball. That being said, I'm going to go out on a limb, and you're going to think I'm crazy, especially because they lost Game 1. There's some magic around the Mariners right now. There really is. There is, man. I'm just saying they got into the playoffs on a walk-off home run, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. They went out there and they won the wild card series against the Blue Jays. Also, another team, baseball, I will say another thing. Baseball is about who gets hot at the right time, right? Know who looks like they're the hottest team in baseball right now? The damn Phillies.
I know. I'm sitting here watching that game. I have the game on my computer right now. There is tie. It's 0-0 right now. But I
didn't actually realize they're playing right now.
Yeah, they're playing right now. It's 0-0, like in the bottom of the 5th. I'm gonna go a team that you did not mention, and a team I hate, but it's gonna happen. I think Houston. Yeah. I mean, when you're getting, granted, Seattle literally handed them that game on a silver platter yesterday.
They're down to their last out, down 3.
I think I think Houston is hitting the ball well enough. Would like to see why they're hitting the ball well enough, if you know what I mean. But they're hitting the ball very well right now, whether it's cheating or not. And I mean, I don't know. Like baseball is always about the hot hand, so who knows? I think it's Houston. I think it's gonna. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say it's Houston over the Phillies.
Ooh, okay. See, I think it'd be great if my prediction came true in like a Mariners Phillies finals would be so crazy.
Wow.
But I'm honestly I'm rooting for the Phillies at this point because my mindset is and always has been if you can't win it all, root for the team that beats you. So at least you can say, oh, I lost to the champion, right? So
yeah, that was a series that was not fun to watch. I don't know what happened to the Cardinals, but this Phillies team, they know how to fight and get the win. So I think they can make it. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got. So, I mean,
all right,
we will be back here, Sunday? Monday?
Yeah, we'll be back here Sunday. I don't know if Joe will be back. I don't know where Joe will be. He may be telling where Joe will be.
Yeah, he'll be back eventually.
He'll be back one day. We'll get his bad takes again one day.
Yeah, no. Once Penn State beats Ohio State in 2 weeks, he's going to be all over wanting to talk about it. So
they're not beating.
Anyway, yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.